Hello, my name is Mike Pfaff, and this is my YouTube channel, Living in the Illusion. And on our little whiteboard, we have what we talked about in the last video. And as usual, we'll take off from this brief review. And here's what we talked about. Do you think you have free will? Now, in the egoic world, there's no question about it. The belief system is you have free will. Well, when we started to look deeply into that process, we came up with a definition on free will, based upon other definitions and other sources. So this is kind of a paraphrase of all of those other descriptions. And here's what it is. Free will, a voluntary choice or decision. Now here's the kicker. Without any constraints. Without any constraints. And as we move deeper and deeper and deeper into that process on a conscious level and a subconscious level, there's always restraints. Social restraints, family restraints, religious restraints, country restraints, all kinds of restraints. Traffic restraints. You can't even go across the street without having some concerns on where you're going to go and why. So everything is interconnected. Nothing is by itself, and therefore nothing is free to move by itself. Oh, very controversial. But on the deeper level, behind the conscious mind, is the process that we're all interconnected. And as one moves, we all move. We're all in a constant dance of interaction. And so the conclusion is it's very difficult to find a decision or a choice that you make without some constraints. And therefore, free will in the illusion is illusory. Free will in the egoic world is impossible. So now, after that, we're going to go into our next subject, which will be also as interesting and as controversial. Now, and this is our topic for today. And let me read it off my little paper, because sometimes I don't do a good job up here. Startling. Oh, startling. Do you know you make your egoic self? Egoic-Self. Your ego. You make your ego. Now, we have some stuff on the board. And so I'll go through it a little bit. One thing, you come in to this environment, this illusion. And when you come in, you need something. Here's you. And you might think of you as your life force or what comes in. And there's something you need when you come into this environment. A body. You need a body. So, in our little diagram, we're going to put a body. So, let me use this one. So you come in with a body. So this is your body. Now this is you. You're not your body. But you need a body. So what is one of the things the body has to have, or it can't be here? It needs a brain. So we'll just put a little brain up here to represent a little brain. Now it's something else that a body needs, that you have. And you have antenna. You have antenna that reach out into the environment to give you information. Now, when you come into the world, you, with a body, the body has no idea what it is. If you look at a newborn babe, they're just looking with their eyes open, looking around, looking around. You like to say, oh, look how alert they are. And if you hold keys that shine in front of it, they look, they follow the keys. And they're trying to find out about their environment and who they are, who that little infant is. So it has these antennae, and you have the visual, which takes up most of the input information. Then you have auditory or sound. You have feel, which is kinesthetic. Then you have olfactory, which is smelling. And then T for taste, or gustatory. So you have all of these inputs looking out into the world. Now, before you're born, have no memory. You come into the world, you have no memory. All you are, you're sitting in the womb. It's kind of dark in there. Not much going on until about the second trimester. And in the second trimester of gestation, you get your little brain turned on. And even in the womb, all of these senses are practiced. All of them. And you need that. You need to practice in that dark, warm space so that when you do come out into the light, you will have certain characteristics that will help you to survive. And those characteristics are related to your sensory input. You will pick up information from the mother. If she's happy, whoa, you pick up happy vibes. If she's sad, you pick up sad vibes. If she's excited, you pick up, because whatever she's doing, you believe is you. And that's pretty much so, because you are attached to her at this point. So whatever she's doing, you're feeling and accepting that as who you are. Now the information in there is going to be very incomplete, because one factor is you have nothing to compare it to. You're just taking it in right now. And that information that comes to you within that period in that dark, warm space is your foundation for your belief system. On a conscious level, are you ever going to know what it is? No. There is a well-known, well, he's passed now, psychologist, he was a psychologist, who came up with the 8 stages of life. And the first stage, which happens between in the womb, birth, for the first year, is this environment a safe place? So this infant is making these decisions not based on language, because it doesn't know language, is based on input from senses and an interpretation in the mind without language. So it's taking in information without language. Now, where does it get that information? And this, by the way, this is part of, up till age 3, this is part of the programming, the initial programming that is put in place by hypnosis. So these senses are picking up information, not language. That comes later. You got to learn language. You got to learn what the language is. And but as it's going into the brain. And so you are getting, and no, there's also, I was going to say, it goes into the brain and you got a memory. But we have never found a memory in the brain. Sorry to say. But we use the brain for processing the information. So the information goes in, is processed, and you begin to develop an understanding of who you are. Who you, well, that should be who. Let me change that. Who you think you are. Because it's not the full information, it's not the full truth, but it's all that they had to work with. So they're taking this information in and developing who they think they are, or who you think you are at that stage in your development. Now it's looking out into the outside environment. Here you are. You see you back here? Do your senses in the body look at the outside or the inside? Do they look out or do they look in? To find out who you are. Well, they look out. How are you going to know you? Well, that's a story for another time. But I want you to recognize in this model that this model does not include you. Although it is your life force and is needed, or this whole process ends. So we need the life force, and that's what you bring with you into this body, into this environment. Now we're going to look at a couple things of where we get our information to determine who we are. We're not getting it from here, from the life force, from also known as the original self. You're not getting it from here. You're getting it from the environment, from out here. What kind of environment are we in? The egoic belief system. The illusion. So we are picking up information from the illusion. Now let's look at some of that information that is coming to us from the outside. So here we have some information that determines who we think we are. Now, right here we have family of origin. Your family of origin gives you information about who you are. So you get information here, who you are. Who are you really? Well, it doesn't matter. They're telling you, and you're taking it in, and as you take it in, you are going to filter it through what you know, through your mind-brain connection, and you're going to develop who you believe yourself to be. Now you're on a quest. You're on a quest to find out who you are. And you're going to find out because they're going to tell you. Also, you have extended family. It tells you who you are, what you're supposed to do. That's why in the first 3 years of life, you're learning just input. It's coming to you. You're not rejecting it. You're just accepting it because you don't have any facilities to reject the information, to monitor the information, to find out what is true for you. So you are getting all of this information from outside coming into your senses. I want to point out why a lot of it comes from visual. These other senses, some of them are much more subtle and pick up much more information that goes into the mind, brain, and central nervous system that determines who you are. So now we have another interesting one. Religious belief. Oh yes, because religions, most of them, not all of them, are set up to make sure the next generation follows the same rules as the previous one. Doesn't matter what religion. That's the way it is. They got rituals, they got beliefs, they got values, they got everything. So you're picking this up through the family of origin, through other things. You're picking up this information, and it's going in, and it's going deep now into the subconscious mind. It's being manipulated by your core belief system, which is developing in the first, this should be 3 years, first 3 years. All hypnotic input, because the child's brain is operating at a very low frequency, and therefore it is open to accept information and is not available to filter or decide which information is needed and which isn't. So you're taking it all in, whatever they tell you, good or bad. And sometimes family of origin don't always tell you the right stuff. And so if in one family of origin, they look at the child and they say, dumb as a box of rocks. And they say that often enough, the child picks that up, and guess what it becomes? An affirmation. Guess what they're going to develop or manifest? A life that meets their affirmations. And if they say, you're a wonderful child, Oh, I was so looking forward to having you here. Come, sit in my lap and do things. Oh, I'm a king. I feel pretty good about myself. So this is all forming in here, and for the most part, out of your conscious awareness. So we have the big three right here: family, family of origin, religion. And there are many more. Let us see if we can find some more. So what else do we have here? Well, we have language. Language going in because the language has descriptors on what, when people say stuff, what it means. So language is very important in developing who you think you are. Canada is a fine example. I had a lot of trouble in Canada because they wanted to, have English as their language. Well, English has a certain way of looking at the world because of the language they use to describe it. French has another way of looking at the world because of the language they describe it. So your belief system varies depending on the language. If you use German or Hindi or any of those languages, you're going to have a different way of seeing the world. You're developing a different personality. Now what else? Country. Country is a big one. We're going through a lot of stuff in the country right now. Oh, and this determines what kind of a person is going to come out of here. And sometimes it's not so good. This is to let you know what information is going on at a very young age, before age 3. So a child before age 3 at this time is picking up information about the political aspects of his environment. Makes a lot of difference. Social media has a lot to do with it because right now, a lot of times, small children are put in front of the television. That's a babysitter. And they get all kinds of stuff in there. Now, some of it's very good, like Sesame Street and all of that helps kids see things in a very positive way. But some of them is kind of not so good. And some of them, Sesame Street goes off and the news comes on and they hear all kinds of stuff that they don't understand. You see, like language. There was a process I did in a workshop with relationships, talking about this subject. And they had a thing where here's a child and here's two parents. And the two parents are talking. A child can't understand language. So the parents are talking. So the child hears this, something like this. Oh, somebody, I don't do it. Well, no words, just vibrations. Now they hear another language. Sheep. What? Now, what kind of things is this child picking up? A different language, a different vibration. How is it going to interpret that to determine who they are from the family of origin? Interesting. School system. what you learn in school, how you do it, the social activities in the school, whether your parents are involved in that, all kinds of stuff go in to looking at who you think you are. Here's you. Here's who you think you are. As this becomes stronger, this fades into the background. At a certain point, now also we have social interaction, and the environment itself has a lot to do with it. The environment that we have outside, how we relate to it, how we see there's all kinds of ways of looking at it. Some people think the environment, well, we got to conquer it, we got to destroy it before it destroys us, and we forget that we're part of it. And so that has something to do, and there's other things. Now I'm just pointing out ones that just kind of stand out for me. So by age 3, you're developing pretty much who you think you are. From your environment, family of origin, religion, country. Each one of these has an ego. Every situation, every institution has an ego. Baseball teams have egos. Football teams have egos. Soccer teams have egos. And so do religions. So does family. So does country. Have an ego. We're talking about the foundation of an individual as it relates to where they're going to live, their environment. And so this becomes stronger and stronger. It becomes stronger and stronger as it learns more and more and gets more information, has more experiences, and this gets heavier and heavier. Now, at a certain point, this individual will say, well, that's who I am. This is who I am. Well, this is you. This is who you think you are. Now look closely here. Look closely at this. I drew it as a lens. This becomes your ego self. This is your ego self. Is it real? No. It's based on stuff given to you. And now it's your foundation for your belief system. It is how you're going to, through this lens, you're going to see your world. And now, all the things that we talked about, manifesting. Why do you want to manifest? Well, I want to see a different world. Oh, you're going to do something out here. What's out here? Well, your family of origin and religion, and what do you want to change? Well, I don't want to change anything. I just want to get something different. Can't do it. This is who you are. You made it. You made who you are. It's not going away. To go away, you have to work. You have to work at it. So let's see what A Course in Miracles has to say about this. Now I'll have some things up here. I kind of forgot what I was going to put up here. Oh, okay, A Course in Miracles. talking about the ego. The Course has much information about the ego. I pulled out two, just to give you an idea. But if you go into this Course in Miracles and you do a search on what the ego is, or how the ego operates, or the ego's belief system, now here's what happens. When you create your ego, it develops into a separate entity. It will seem like a separate entity. And it will talk in your ear. And it'll tell you magnificent things. So why does it seem like a separate entity? You made it. And why does it have life? Because this is what you believe. Your belief gives your ego life. If you don't like your ego, or you don't like the world you have to change. Your ego is the way it is because you are the way you are. You want a different world, you got to change. You change this ego, this entity, it's got to die. It's got to die. Why? Because it's not going to change. It's made this way. So if you change, this has to disappear. I said die. This has to die, this part, as you change. And as you change, your change will develop a new ego that incorporates your change. But this ego has to die and be no more. And I have a video on that, and I'll reference it. Now, so your belief system, you'll excuse me for a minute because I dropped my very important marker. And it rolled underneath, and I had a hard time getting that. So you, we haven't got to the Course yet. And by age 7, you have a very formidable belief system. Why is that important? Because this lens now, when information comes to it, will use your formidable belief system to filter that information, and you won't get new information in. You drop it out. Why? Can't get through the lens. Can't get through your belief system. So by age 7, I don't know where to put this, 7 years old, your core belief system's in place. Now it's hard to change. And you will see the world this way develop through this process. And now you want to change. You want to get something else. Doesn't matter. Unless you change your lens, whatever's out here, and everything is here, you're never going to see it. And that's why I say, when I talk about manifesting is about you changing. What are you changing? Your ego identity. This is your ego identity. And it's going to stay that way. And by the way, this part of the ego, which is alive now, is this part of the ego that is alive wants to live. And when you want to change, it will fight you on very sophisticated grounds to keep you where you're at so you won't change and this ego self won't die. Oh, This is more complicated than you may have thought in all of your looking at how you're going to have a wonderful life. Manifesting is about changing you. If you don't change this lens, even though you may get what you affirm, it's not going to stay. It can't stay because you can't see it until you change. So it'll disappear. You say, oh, I got a new car. Oh, great. Well, it'll disappear one way or another. And then you say, well, why did that happen? I'll manifest it again. You got to change yourself before it'll stay. That's it. So now, what does the Course say about the ego? And I'll put it up here, and there's two sayings, so there'll be two things up. Let's talk about the first one. Yet, and this is what it says, yet, it's, talking about the ego, yet, its existence is dependent on your mind, because the ego is your belief. That's what it says. The ego doesn't exist except as you cause it to believe, because this is what you think you are. So that's one of the things that it brings out about the ego. Another thing, I won't change it and you'll see it up here. The ego is also in the mind because you have accepted it there. You are the creator, but you don't know what you're creating. Here's you. When all is said and done, this is you. And as the ego gets bigger, this gets smaller. As the ego gets smaller, your original self gets bigger. And as you move behind the illusion, there is only oneness. There is no ego. Oh, we have much to talk about here in the illusion. So until we meet again here in the illusion, be good to yourself. If you have any questions, put them down below and we'll see what kind of answers we can come up with. We'll see you then. Bye now.